You just saw clips of severe tropical storm Maring leaving parts of northern Luzon as well as Palawan submerged. Deadly landslides also being reported that pushes the death toll to at least 9.
Rescue efforts also continue with heavy flooding reported in Cagayan, Benguet, and La Union. Rainfall brought by severe tropical storm Maring has been compared to that of Ondoy in 2009. Good evening, I'm Gretchen Ho.
I'm Robbie Alampay. You're watching The Big Story. Let's start with reports on the damage brought about by severe tropical storm Maring in northern Luzon.
Residents were greatly affected by the storm, many of them losing their houses and sources of livelihood. Romel Lopez with The Big Story.
Strong rains brought about by Maring were felt in Benguet and Baguio City overnight. In this video, flash floods were seen in some parts of La Trinidad. By early morning, vehicular movement had been obstructed due to multiple landslides. In La Trinidad, 3 siblings died in a landslide in Barangay Ambyong.
Nung buksan ko yung pintuan namin, na sumigaw yung tatay. Sabi niya, yung mga anak ko. Nung lumabas ako, wala na. Nakita ko na yung extension ng bahay namin, yung bahay nila.
The children aged 8, 6, and 2 were immediately brought to the hospital but were declared dead on arrival. The parents, meanwhile, were badly injured.
Masakit, sir. Parang, ewan ko, hindi ako makapalagay sa... Nananawagan ako sa mga kababayan natin. Kung may kunting tulong kayo, di kailangan namin naman ng tulong na kahit kunti man lang.
Even the famous strawberry farm in La Trinidad was not spared by the storm last night. Although the floods may have already subsided this morning, crops were left covered by mud. Farmers are worried since their alternate crops were also damaged by the storm.
Wala na, talagang bankrupt naman. Wala nang titindi.
Ano ba? Tumaas po yung tubig?
Oo, yan, tumaas yan. Pag puno yung karayan ng ganyan, tumaas. Punta dito sa garden.
According to La Trinidad officials, relief operations for affected residents will continue. Meanwhile, in Baguio City, a senior citizen was recovered from a landslide in Barangay Dominican Mirador. 2 individuals, however, are still missing. For News 5, Romel Lopez, we are One News.
To talk more about severe tropical storm Maring, joining us tonight, Ricardo Halad, Executive Director of the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. Undersecretary Halad, welcome to The Big Story.
Good evening, Robbie, and Gretchen. Good evening to our viewers.
Sir, a lot of people are comparing the amount of rainfall to that of Ondoy. Maybe for some quick context, how does this compare, in fact, when it comes to just the amount of rainfall and something that a lot of people are asking, whatever that amount is, did we expect the volume of rain?
Well, we are yet to compare that with Ondoy, but we received a data from Pagasa that in the area of Benguet, there was about 700 millimeters of rain delivered from yesterday to this morning. So we still have to collate the data. How is that compared to Ondoy? And we know that the rainfall, much of the rainfall that is poured over the area of Benguet will eventually go down to low-lying areas. It's downstream areas like, for example, La Union, Ilocos Sur, and Pangasinan.
Okay, in the meantime po, this is the situation right now. Kamusta naman po ang evacuation, search and rescue operations natin?
There's still an rescue operations being conducted in the area of La Union and Ilocos Sur as well as in Benguet due to the landslides that occurred in that area. In all other areas, there is also one in Palawan because there is still some missing person in the municipality of Nara and Nara, Palawan. In all other areas, we expect the people who have evacuated to be returning to their respective residences.
Okay, maraming salamat po. Undersecretary Halad is Executive Director of the NDRRMC as well. Severe tropical storm Maring unloaded more rain than some of the major typhoons that hit the country over the past 12 years. Tonight's big number, 625.3 millimeters. That's the amount of rainfall from Maring recorded by Pag-asa in just 24 hours. That was from 8 a.m. yesterday to the same time this morning. This is a bigger volume than the more than 400 millimeter highest 24-hour rainfall data recorded from Typhoon Ondoy in 2009. The 327 millimeters of rain recorded from Super Typhoon Lawin and the over 500 millimeters from Super Typhoon Ompong.
These are the other big stories tonight. Political party Lakas CMD denies fielding placeholder candidates for president and vice president. However, the group admits keeping its doors open for Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte. The Social Welfare Department is also in hot water for engaging in a Farmally-like deal for the disbursement of cash aid. And NCR mayors have agreed to impose shortened curfew hours in Metro Manila. Will more ease restrictions follow? Find out after the break.
Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. Another party has expressed openness to give way to a potential surprise presidential bid from Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte.
For a former COMELEC commissioner, this tactic should serve as basis for a revisiting of the election code. Marian Enriquez with this report.
The CMD party denies that it only fielded placeholders for the 2022 elections, saying both of their candidates for president and vice president are qualified for the posts. On the last day of COC filing, the party submitted the candidacy of Ana Capella Velasco for president and Lyle Fernando Uy for vice president.
Si Ping is our executive director. If you ask about her qualification, he's more than qualified to run because he's even a college graduate. Ang presidente, remember, hindi college graduate, I can read and write lang.
Surigao Congressman and Lakas CMD Secretary General Prospero Pichay Jr. says it was the party's decision to let them run for the two highest positions. He notes that party chair and former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo did not know about the move. Despite this, Lakas CMD says it is open to replacing its standard bearer if Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte reconsiders running for president.
It's just like a poker game or a game of chess na antayin natin yung ibang partido. I will not discount the possibility that we have some plans, no? Definitely, even the other parties, they also have plans.
But it is not only the Lakas CMD that seems to be on a waiting game for the presidential daughter. Senator Bato de la Rosa, standard bearer of PDP Laban Kusuwing, reiterates on 1PH Wagpo that he is willing to give way to the Davao City Mayor.
Just in case magbago yung isip ni Mayor Inday Sara, the party is offering the standard bearer position sa kanya. Alam natin ang winnability niya is masyado mataas. So, sana tanggapin niya. But if not, kung hindi niya tatanggapin, then mapapasubo ko nito.
One House leader believes that substitution is a form of manipulation and mockery of the election process. Deputy Speaker Rufus Rodriguez is pushing for an almost absolute ban on the substitution option. His proposal also requires both national and local incumbent officials to either resign or be deemed automatically resigned once they submit their candidacies. For his part, former COMELEC Commissioner Louis Guia says that updates on the election code are long overdue.
Yan, ano kaya yung reason nung ginawa yan nung 1985? Is that reason still present now? We have to look at the legal framework as a whole.
For News 5, Marian Enriquez, we are One News.
Senatorial aspirant Teddy Bagilat of the Liberal Party reminded netizens, particularly Leni Robredo supporters, to exercise tolerance online. In the program Sa Totoo Lang, Bagilat called for respect among netizens, especially as election season nears. He also reminded the Liberal Party's so-called truth warriors not to pick a fight online. This follows the word war between Manila Mayor Isko Moreno and Vice President Leni Robredo, who are both vying for the presidency.
Yun yung aming gustong ipairal even with our campaign social media warriors, no, yung tinatawag naming truth warriors. Huwag kayong makipag-away. Pakinggan ninyo. Kung kinakailangan sagutan dahil misinformation, sagutan nyo. Pero huwag tayong makipag-away. Kasi ang gusto ni Ma'am is inclusive.
After its investigation into the Health Department's alleged misuse of pandemic funds, senators set their sights on the Social Welfare Department, which, like the DOH, awarded a little-known company billions in contracts. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez gives us a front seat to that story.
Is a formerly like scandal brewing at the Department of Social Welfare and Development? That's what senators wanted to know when they grilled the agency for awarding the rollout of 50 billion pesos worth of ayuda to a nearly bankrupt company.
Pinagkatiwalaan ng 52 billion pesos pundo ng gobyerno kahit na nagdeklarang lugi ito ng 26 million peso noong 2019. Maliwanag na mayroong nakinabang sa pundo na para sana sa ayuda.
The company in question is StarPay, an e-wallet provider which Pacquiao claimed had a paid-up capital of only 62,000 pesos. StarPay has already denied this, saying they have capital of at least 100 million pesos. Still, senators call it a never-heard-of brand and question why DSWD didn't just go with more established players like GCash or PayMaya.
Ang tanong dito ito ba pharmalin ng DSWD o hindi?
At tingin ko, Madam Chair, mas mahigit pa ito sa Parmalee.
DSWD Secretary Rolly Bautista explained they sought help from the Bangko Sentral in choosing the e-wallet providers.
Ang kinalabasan din po noon ay yung terms of reference na ito po yung kasunduan sa ating mga financial service providers.
Pacquiao, who first made the expose on StarPay in July, claimed it failed to fully disburse the cash aid. He said that while it got the contract to serve 7 million beneficiaries, only 800,000 downloaded its app. In defense, DSWD said the rest of the ayuda were given out manually. Meanwhile, Senator Ping Lacson pointed out the agency's poor planning is what caused delays in the ayuda distribution. It wasn't until they started distributing that they found out nearly 70% of the beneficiaries have either no phones or wrong numbers on record.
Sa halip na meron tayong magandang pagpaplano na inalam mo na natin kung ilan yung talagang mayroong capability na gumamit ng mobile phones, nahuli tayo. Nalaman lang natin nung nagdi-distribute na.
The Senate Finance Committee has asked the SWD to submit a report detailing where the pandemic aid last year went. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez, we are One News.
Time for our next look at some of the day's big stories. The Office of the Ombudsman has dismissed the case involving former tourism chief Wanda Tulfo Teo, her brother Ben Tulfo, and officials of the state-run TV network PTV4. State auditors flagged the two over a 120 million peso advertisement deal for possible conflict of interest. But the Ombudsman ruled that there was no probable cause to pursue the complaint against Teo, Tulfo, and PTV officials. The Metro Manila Council unanimously approved a resolution to encourage LGUs to close cemeteries and memorial parks during Undas. The resolution urged LGUs to close off cemeteries and memorial parks from October 29 to November 2. President Duterte says that individuals hesitant to receive the COVID-19 vaccine should be inoculated in their sleep. Duterte said this could be the way for more Filipinos to get vaccinated, adding that he would personally lead the campaign. The health department, however, has repeatedly stressed that vaccination is not mandatory. Time for another quick break. When we return, declining COVID-19 cases are fueling hopes for Metro Manila's possible downgrade to Alert Level 3. The IATF says there is a high chance that restrictions could be eased. And pandemic productivity takes on a whole new level with this Filipino jump rope enthusiast who is now gunning for a Guinness World Record.
Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. Curfew hours over Metro Manila will be shortened beginning tomorrow.
The IATF says there is a high chance that the NCR will be under Alert Level 3. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez gives us a seat to the story.
Beginning October 13, curfew hours in Metro Manila will be shortened 12 midnight to 4 a.m. Metro Manila Council Chair Edwin Olivares said this is thanks to the declining cases and improving healthcare capacity over the past few weeks. Octa Research Fellow Guido David agrees it's time to lower the alert level over NCR.
I think we could already be at level 3 right now kasi yung assessment namin, NCR is at moderate risk and some of the surrounding regions are in moderate risk.
Already, Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship Joey Concepcion is pushing for more operational capacity for businesses.
Nasa 30% capacity lang pwede nilang i-open sa mga publiko, mga vaccinated. Kailangan tumaas yan sa 50%. And eventually, if we're able to go down to level 1 by November.
Concepcion said even at 30% capacity, businesses are still struggling to pay their bills.
We have to open the economy because this is the last quarter. This is the time when most negociantes can get back what they lost in the previous months, no?
But the health department warned this isn't the time to be complacent. It says we might see the number of active cases spike again if we relax restrictions at this point.
However, if detection to isolation time is again prolonged, active cases may decrease to 11,779 cases under Alert Level 4 and an increase up to 16,332 to 17,967 active cases if Alert Level 3 is imposed.
The IATF will decide on a new classification for the rest of the month this week. Although Malacanang has already said there's a code, high chance NCR will be moved down to level 3. Meanwhile, vaccination for minors aged 12 to 17 will begin on October 15. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez, We Are One News.
Severe tropical storm Maring was found moving faster over the West Philippine Sea as of 5 p.m. this afternoon. Pag-asa last spotted its center some 505 kilometers off the coast of Calayan in Cagayan. Maring left the Philippine area of responsibility at 11 a.m. today and continues to move westward. However, tropical wind cyclone signal number 2 is still up over Batanes and the Babuyan Islands. Pag-asa warns that strong winds could still result to light or moderate damage to structures and vegetation. The areas currently flashed on your screens, meanwhile, are now under signal number 1. For the big story in sports, if you need extra motivation to achieve your fitness goals this year, check out Pinoy skipman Ryan Alonzo, who took jump roping to a whole new level. He recently surpassed the Guinness World Record for the most number of double under skips. More in my report.
By Venus, which is 20,000.
Prior to event day, Ryan had a game plan,
I got to maintain my
including the Philippine Jump Rope Association serving as witnesses. Ryan was able to get back his groove and even surpass his target of 40,000. But did you know that Ryan only started seriously jump roping?
So that's when I thought of jump roping, and then I searched Instagram, and yun pala, there was a community of jump ropers there. Then you would see the amazing tricks that they're.
And Ryan has been posting videos of him jump roping, doing double unders, and to take it to the next level. For 4 months, Ryan trained to achieve his goal of
trying to ask for help. And
the Filipino-American Basco brothers have finally dropped their intergenerational comedy movie. Dante, Darian, Dionisio, and Derek all proves to be stronger than their dilemmas as they come together for a stressed
we're very much trying to reach out to connect to others.
While much of the movie takes inspiration from their experience,
I
Dante
just want to tell this really beautiful family story, which we just happen to be Filipinos.
The Fabulous Filipino Brothers had premiered at the Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival. It will have a limited screening on KDX and Signal Pay-Per-View from October 18 to November 15. It will also be available on Signal Play soon. For News 5, MJ Marfori, VR1 News.
Austria-based scientists are moving to more futuristic stuff. Austrian Space Forum set up a mock Martian base called Amadi 20. The site is complete with autonomous rovers and arrays of solar base suits, or even as they stay grounded on Earth. The team seeks to find new insights and preparation for the first manned mission to Mars.
Kulang na lang si R2-D2.
Mag-jump rope
Ang
doon.
hirap nun ha.
Diba?
40,280 times. Congratulations. Ay ng mga kasama niya. And he found the strength that he...
Kahit nakakulong tayo.
...to the skip man. That
sa liberal.
Oh, really?
Sa
bagay, action.
Pinoy.
Yeah.
Action. Action Elsa.
They're using the same term, same thing, interesting. Kasi tagal nyo na rin, sir.
There.
Yeah, they can hear us.
Nung
Sir,
una kong takbo, liberal na ako eh. 1988. I was 28.
mic test lang po.
saying both of their of the entire election code amid the strategy of political parties to field placeholder candidates.
If you ask about her qualification, he's more than qualified to run because he's even a college graduate. Imagine mo, can read and write. Hindi man sinabi, can think.
Lakas CMD says it is open to replacing its standard bearer if Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte reconsiders running for president.
The Commission on Elections warns that Senator Bato de la Rosa's recent statements might put him at risk of being tagged as a nuisance candidate.
Ay, public knowledge naman yan na just in case magbago yung isip ni Mayor Inday Sara, the party is offering the standard bearer position sa kanya.
Hopes and efforts to unify the opposition was one of the first key challenges early in the campaign period among presidential candidates. Maybe it still is, but with shifting alliances and new political parties still forming, what transpired in the process of unification? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to this edition of The Chiefs. I'm Robbie Alampay, and with me here in the studio in Mandaluyong, Ed Lingao, also of One News, and Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5 joins us online. Chiefs.
Happy weekend.
Hello. Hi. Good evening. Sol's already here, but I'm seeing her on my computer. But yeah.
Andito na ba si Ami? Andiyan na si Ami? Okay. And Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star is joining us as well. Good evening, Ami.
There you go.
Hi.
Parang may delay tayo. Pero,
parang hindi good ang evening niya.
Pero actually, hindi good ang evening sa maraming mga Pilipino. Lalo na mga kababayan natin in the North.
May delay.
Di ba? Medyo mabigat yung...
Matindi ang baha.
Matindi ang baha. I mean, they're also comparing the volume of rain here this weekend to the volume of rain in some of the major events in the past decade.
And considering yung the storm did not even hit us, did not even make landfall.
Because akala natin tropical storm lang eh. Yeah, di ba? Hindi siya typhoon level. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but that's in reference to wind speed.
So nagulat lahat na ganun yung destruction, no?
Yeah, but that's in reference to wind speed. It's not in reference to the volume of
rain.
rain.
That's true. Oo. Anyway, pero marami ring mga bagyo pa tayong binabantayan. Actually,
yung binabagyo ngayong partido, yung dating mukhang akala natin magiging magkakampi.
Political bagyo
surprise
naman yan
di ba? Surprise din yung bagyo na yon. Yung hindi natin ipasok na natin, no, para pag-usapan natin because we do have a lot of questions. We begin tonight with Congressman Edgar Irice of Aksyon Demokratiko. Good evening, Congressman Irice.
Good evening,
Good evening, Kong.
Good evening, Lucy, Ami, and Ed.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, Congressman, maybe you could start us off by clarifying or give your insights kasi kanina nga nung inintro ko, di ba? Efforts to unify the opposition or for that matter just to unify whatever political forces, that was a key challenge and a key goal for everyone. But when we talk about unifying, consolidating, whatever you want to, partnering up, team up, whatever. Do we talk about that in the past tense or is that still an ongoing hope and concern for everyone?
It's an ongoing hope for everyone.
So you mean may pag-asa pa, sir?
Oh, really?
You mean may pag-asa pa yung
So youth, yeah?
I mean, it's still in the works?
Talagay ko ano yun well, I think marirealize din ng opposition paglabas ng mga numbers that the only chance to oust government is for the other candidates to unite, whether they claim to be opposition or that they are claiming to be opposition, like Mayor Isko. He's not claiming to be an opposition, pero kalaban din siya ng kasalukuyang administrasyon.
Congressman Irice, it's interesting you said that precisely because, you know, yung isang konteksto ngayon dito is precisely yung mga words ni Mayor Isko last week. Kasi nagulat lahat ng tao. Everybody really felt and knew that his initial mode was, I will bridge, I will heal, and people knew that he had spoken with the camp of Leni Robredo, and there were efforts to see, baka naman pwedeng magkaisa tayo, and so on. First chance he gets, banat ka agad. First chance he gets, maanghang ka agad yung mga bitaw niya.
Well, ako naunawaan ko yung pinanggagalingan ni Mayor Isko. Alam mo, although bago pa naman siya sa national politics, talagang siya. So, lagay ko na naunawaan ko yung kanyang saan ang gagaling. Alam mo, Ako I'm from the Liberal Party. I've been a loyal and active member of the Liberal Party for so long. Nung una kong takbo bilang konsyal, Liberal Party na ako, 1988. I was then 28 years old. Na certified dilawan ako dahil 23 years old pa lang ako. Sumasalubong na ako kay Senator Ninoy. Member ako ng staff ng opposition sa Batasang Pambansa. Naging congressman, naging liberal uli ako nung nag-congressman ako ng 2003. Paglaban ako during the hardest times ng liberal. Kung tawagin kami noon Volkswagen Party. Nung tumakbo si Pangulong Pinoy, kasama niya ako nag-ikot sa buong Pilipinas. Nung ako'y nagtatanggol sa Liberal Party sa Kongreso, nung tumakbo si Mark, kasama din ako buong Pilipinas. Yung 8 Diretso, kasama din ako ni Vice President Lenny.
Yes, sir. Malalim po yung hugot niyo.
Namin, anyari.
Well, I've been very vocal. To the party. Alam mo, I think yung leadership ng party may responsibility. Kung may problema, dapat may restructuring, may reforms. For so long, I'm clamoring for that. At mga 3 months ago, meron kao ni VP Lenny, si Secretary Mar Rojas, si Secretary Jun Abaya, Secretary Butch, our Secretary General Congressman Kit Belmonte sa Office of the Vice President. At sinabi niya na hindi siya interesado talaga tumakbo bilang presidente o any other national position. Sabi niya nga, nung una raw, kinoconsider niya yung local, pero parang nawawala na rin siya na kana. So, ang kanyang agenda is to unify the opposition. Kung merong kakandidato na mas may chance na manalo, at kung merong, kasi ayaw niya na yung halimbawa makakuha siya ng certain percentage na votes, yun pa yung kadahilan para matalo yung kalaban ng administrasyon. Yun ang sabi sa amin mga planning. So, ako naman, nagtsaga naman for tinatanong ko. Siyempre, you should not only consider the national positions, may local positions din ng partido. Ano ba yung gusto siyempre ng partido, maliwanag din kung saan sila nakatayo. Ganyan naman, di ba, mga local elections. Ako ay candidate for mayor. So, umaasa din ako na yung magdadala sa akin, organize yung partido ko. So, sabi ko kay Section Kit Belmonte, ano bang magiging desisyon? Sabi niya, hintay ka lang. Sabi ko, pag August 30, walang desisyon. Dahil alam ko naman, nakipag-usap si VP Lenny kay, sasama na ako kay Mayor Isko. Kasi si Mayor Isko, maliwanag yung pahayag niya, natatakbo siya. And he will sacrifice a lot. Dahil mayor siya ng Maynila, wala siyang kalaban. Pero bibitaw siya, lalaban siya for the presidency. Sasama na ako. Sabi sa akin ni Kit, maghintay-hintay ka lang ng konti. So, maghintay ako. Pero September 15, sabi ko, anong petsa na? Wala pa. So, sabi ko, paalam ako. Sabi ako, mag-resign na ako sa partido. Dahil, akala ko talagang wala namang interest. People like me.
So I guess yung question nga is, so kung tumakbo pala siya, early on ay dineklara na niya, hindi ka aalis ng LP?
Maaari kasi meron kaming meron kaming mga discussions because we also we look on surveys, we look on the possibility of or winnability kasi mahalaga din yun dahil siyempre madadamay kami lahat. Mababa numbers, mga ganong consideration. Pero alam mo, 8 Diretso kasama ako, nagpit ako, alam ko namang hirap na hirap. Nandun ako, during the darkest days, kasama ako. Pero ito, hindi ko makita yung direction. Hindi ko makita yung direction ng partido. So nakita ko, sabi ko nga, extraordinary times would require extraordinary actions. tingin ko, ang may panalo talaga against the administration, either Bongbong or Sara, is Mayor Isko. Siya yung nakikita ko in terms of numbers, in terms of endearment. Kasi ang circle nung influence niya, not only with the, kumbaga sa political spectrum, not only with the left of center, but doon sa right of center, makakakuha
Yes,
siya.
sir.
So, yun yung aking idea. Tapos, lalo na, nung nag-Action Democratico siya, kasi yung Action Democratica is actually a sister party of the Liberal Party.
Yes, sir.
Pareho
Yes, sir.
naman Liberal Democrats
Yes, sir.
yan eh.
Yes, sir.
Actually, kay Senator Rocco,
Yes, sir.
si Mrs. Rocco, naging kandidato pa namin ng LP nung panahon ni President Aquino.
Sir, I'll go back to Roby's question, if you don't mind. I'll go back to Roby's question kasi I think the question in a lot of people's minds is what accounts for the apparent antagonism in the last few days between the two candidates. When several weeks ago, parang silang nagkakasundo. They appear together in projects and all that.
Ganito nangyari. I was privy to some events. Ang sabi ni VP Lenny, hindi siya interesado. Ang gusto niya lang ma-unify opposition. Actually, nag-uusap sila nila Mayor Isko at nalalaman ko naman pag napapag-usapan. So, ang gusto yata ni VP Lenny, okay na siya kay Mayor Isko, pero kailangan mag-usap sila ni Senator Pacquiao para makumpleto yung para si VP Lenny yung talagang unifier of the fight against Marcos.
Isko Pacquiao bale, yes.
Pero ang problema, siyempre may prerogative yung presidente kung sino yung kanyang vice. Wala sa isip ni Mayor Isko si Senator Pacquiao na maging vice president niya. At si Senator Pacquiao din, alam ko, sa pagkakaalam ko, correct me if I'm wrong, Senator Manny, hindi niya, he doesn't want to go head-to-head against Tito Sen. Di ba? So yung parameters na gusto ni VP Lenny, parang wala mong nangyari. Pero nung tumakbo na si VP Lenny, pero nung habang nag-uusap sila, nakikita ko, merong may effort to up the numbers of VP Lenny. Karoon siya ng nationwide radio ads, mga gano'n, di ba? So ang premise kasi ng kanilang pag-uusap, hindi tatakbo si Vice President Lenny. Unifier siya. So nung dinala na siya ng one-stop atake kay Mayor Isko. At nakita ko yung maatake mga Dilawan. Mga kasama ko maatake na parang iba-ibang Marcos yan, Duterte secret candidate, even Ma'am Eta Rosales said that Isko is a Duterte secret candidate. May mga gano'n na lumabas. So, dumami na yung atake ng Isko. Tapos nag-declare na si Ma'am Lenny. Tapos sinabi ni Ma'am Lenny na one of the reasons na hindi sila pwedeng magsama ni Mayor Isko kasi uncompromising siya sa Marcos issue. Yun ang sinabi niya.
Yeah.
So parang offend si Mayor Isko. All the while, I thought you were unifying us. Pero ako yun ang naisip ko. All the while, I thought you were unifying us. You are for the unity of those against the Dutertes and the Marcoses. Pero meron ka pala deep inside, huwag na sabihin desire ini-entertain mo pala na ikaw pwedeng maging kandidato ng ikaw ang magdadala ng opposition. So parang ako, tingin ko ron, that is bordering intellectual dishonesty.
Pero Congressman, from the start naman, alam ng lahat that Isang Bayan was courting Leni Robredo to be the candidate.
Isang Bayan is courting Isang Bayan is courting everybody. Trillanes, Isko, Binay, Po.
Pero they were waiting for the decision of the Vice President. Saka linawin ko lang, where did you get the idea na yung premise nung unity talks, simply for unity at walang balak na tumakbo si
There's
DJ Robredo.
actually, Ami,
Sinabi ba sa inyo yun ang premise na
yes,
na mag-unite
that is the premise. Actually, merong inasign si VP Lenny, si Congressman Kit Belmonte, siya yung nakipag-usap. At sinasabi, lagi ako nag-update kay Kit. Dahil sinasabi ko, Kit, ano ba yung usapan na yan? Sabi niya, ayos na. Ang direction, same direction, VP Lenny will not run for president. Ay, alam ko yun.
Pero sir,
I mean,
public
personally,
Let me just clarify,
sinasabi
because
ni Congressman Teddy Bagilat, medyo mabigat din yung sinasabi niya. He feels betrayed daw by you. Tapos
why?
Ano reaction niyo sa gano'n na ang dami-dami niyo na daw pinagsamahan, suddenly nandun na kayo sa Aksyon Demokratiko. Iniwanan niyo yung LP.
Alam mo, yun ang pinakamabigat sa nakikita ko. Para bang may exclusive franchise sila kung ano yung mabuti para sa bayan. Kung ano yung iniisip nila para sa bayan, yun yung tama. Kaya kami nagiging na-alienate kami. Kaya ang Liberal Party, di ba? Talaga namang na-demo na ang tingin ng iba, we are holier than thou. Kung hindi katugma ng kaisipan namin, either mali, para bang may exclusive franchise kami para magsabi kung sino yung tama at mali, kung sino yung good and evil.
Congressman, I won't ask kung sino yung tama o mali dito, but I do just want to recall the words of Isko Moreno that really gave a lot of people pause. First of all, yung premise ni Vice President Leni Robredo, I think she was consistent all the way to when she filed. Sinabi niya, hindi ko talaga gusto. And then I started seeing signs na, as you put it, na compromising pala si Isko sa ano. Now let's give...
Hindi gusto. Robin gusto? Anong hindi gusto?
Hindi niya raw nagustuhan yung signs that Isko Moreno was not as uncompromising as she thought when it comes to the dictator and his family. But down the line, wait, sandali lang pa. Ito po yan. So, and then down the line, when Isko said, and this is my question, when he said na away ng dalawang pamilya lang to eh. This is not anything else. Parang away lang to ng isang political family versus another political family. That gave a lot of people pause because that is a totally different framing from acknowledging that the dictator's family has a lot to account for still and trying to sell the narrative, which is the same narrative of the BBM camp. Diba? So I guess ang tanong po is, in fairness,
Robbie,
we'll give you a chance.
Robbie,
Where
let
exactly
me
does
explain.
Isko Moreno stand on what is the accountability of the Marcoses, and when he basically feeds that narrative also of, let's move on na tayo, tagal na nun, 30 years ago na yun.
Robbie, may I answer now?
Apa.
Alam mo, tinanong ko dyan si Mayor Isko at narinig ko rin yung sinabi niya na hayaan natin na mag-explain at magpaliwanag ang mga Marcos. Narinig ko yun. Alam mo, wala namang pagkakaiba doon. Wala namang dapat pagdebatihan doon. The essence of democracy and justice is for all to be heard. At nakita naman natin, 6 years naging presidente si Tita Cory. 6 years si Pinoy. Pero yung mga kaso ng mga Marcos andyan pa rin, hindi pa rin tapos. Bakit? Hindi ini-influensyahan ni Tita Cory at ni Presidente Pinoy yung paggulong ng hustisya sa mga korte. Dahil importante, rule of law. Kahit na inip na tayo, bakit hindi pa nabibigyan ng hustisya yung ginawang pang-aapi sa atin ng mga Marcos? Opposition ako nun, ako'y lumalaban sa mga Marcos. Kahit na hindi pa nabibigyan ng hustisya yung takot-takot ng mga namatay nung panahon ni Marcos, pero hindi sila nainip. Hindi sila nag-shortcut. Dahil delikado yung shortcut. Kung hindi rule of law, tingnan mo, kay Presidente Duterte, ilang taon na nakakulong si Senator De Lima? Walang ebidensya. Bakit nakakulong? Kung dapat matagal nang malaya. Bakit? Inimpluwensyahan ng administrasyon ni Presidente Duterte yung mga korte. Yung ba ang gusto ba natin ganon? Yung administration, dahil galit siya dito, political enemy niya, gagamitin niya yung influensya ng Malacanang at hindi niya papabayaan na gumulong yung hustisya. Yun ang,
So anong sinasabi niyo, sir, na parang magiging ganon sila VP Lenny? Is that what you're saying? I don't, you're saying in effect na...
Hindi, ang sinasabi ko, Lucy, yung sinasabi ni Isko, she is for rule of law. Kaya lang, ini-interpret nila na lenient siya sa mga Marcoses. Hindi. As President of the Philippines, you should not meddle with the courts.
Yeah,
bakit nga hanggang ngayon? 30 years na, Robbie. Sabi mo nga, bakit hindi pa tapos? Bakit hindi ba napaparusahan?
I think we all share the same frustration, regardless of administration. But I think what people want him to explain specifically.
What do you mean? What do you mean? For President Lenny?
But Congressman, something simpler. I think just to revisit my question, one thing that people want Isko Moreno to explain is, what do you mean na ang pinaglalaban dito ng mga tinawag niyang yellow tards? And that's what the word he used. It's one thing for you to call yourself Dilawan. It's another thing for Isko Moreno to call Lenny Robredo yellow tard. But in the meantime, the other thing that they want to explain is, what do you mean when Isko Moreno says, actually, away lang ng dalawang pamilya to eh. When you diminish the whole, all the values that go into human rights, democracy, rule of law, and so on, and boil it down for the electorate na actually hindi, it's not about all of that. Away lang to ng dalawang pamilya eh.
Okay, I never heard Mayor Isko Moreno said that. Pero
he said it, sir. He said it. I'm stating it as a fact. Sinabi niya po yan.
Ako personally, hindi ko narinig. Pero ang narinig ko sa kanya, sinasabi niya, bakit lagi ang narrative pagka-eleksyon, Dilaw, Pula, Aquino, Marcos, bakit hindi natin pag-usapan yung mga present issues ngayon? Which is more important, like pandemic, how do we recover? Si Mayor Isko, binanatan niya rin naman si Presidente Duterte, pandemic, binanatan niya yung Parmali, binanatan niya yung face shield. Marami naman siyang binabanatan, pero ibig sabihin, yung issues na doon na lang ba nakasentro? Ito bang 2022 elections is again the Marcos dictatorship? Yan ba ang issue? Samantalang ang issue ngayon yung gobyerno natin, yung Duterte government. Yun ang issue ngayon.
Congressman, yung palitan nyo ng mga maaanghang nagsalita with the LP, unfortunately, parang hindi na yata, parang irreconcilable. Are you sure na...
Well, yun yung, alam mo, ako, bakit ako nagsalita? Nakita ko kasi yung mga Dilawans, binabanatan, yung mga kasama kong Dilawan, binabanatan si Mayor Isko na hindi naman dapat. Sila yung nagsimula eh. Instead of concentrating doon sa eye on the ball, sino ba? Sino yung ball? BBM? Duterte. Pero ang binanatan nila, si Mayor Isko. So ang mangyayari niyan, ba't ako nagsalita? Ngayon, nakita mo. Nag-confront. Sinong tumatawa sa atin ngayon? Sino makikinabang dito?
Pero Congressman, aren't you conflating...
Ngayon pa lang, ma-realize na nila, truce kayo. Huwag kayong magbanatan. Wala tayong mapapala dyan. Wala tayo... Kung tatakbo si VP Lenny, tatakbo si Mayor Isko, okay, huwag kayong magbanatan. Ang banatan natin yung gobyerno ngayon. Hindi si Mayor Isko. Tsaka concentrate ang Dilawan kay Mayor Isko. Gusto nila ibagsak si Mayor Isko. Pero pag bumagsak si Mayor Isko, yung numbers ni Mayor Isko will not go to Lenny. It will go to Bongbong or Sara. Kung mag-replace si Sara by November 15. Kinitingnan ko, pinag-aaralan ko yung... At ito yung mas mahihirapan si VP Lenny kung wala si Isko dahil yung voters ni Isko hindi pupunta sa kanya. Hindi pupunta sa
So-
kanya. Kaya nga sabi ko, by November 15, ito na, last statement. By November 15, we will know whether Mayor Sara will join the race or not. Pero whether she joins the race or not, merong BBM, may BBM. Hindi natin alam ang mangyayari sa next survey. Baka dumating yung punto na ang panalo lang talaga, kailangan magsama sila. So dapat ngayon, ma-realize ng mga holier than thou, huwag niyong banatan ito, huwag niyong ibagsak si Isko. Ang bagsak niyo si BBM, yung administration, hindi si Mayor Isko. Kaya si Mayor Isko napikon. Ako, sa tingin ko, mali yung pagkapikon ni Mayor Isko dahil I think yung projection niya, napikon siya.
Sir,
yung political projection niya.
Sir,
Pero sir,
ulitin
isn't
ko
it
lang
one
yung
thing?
tanong.
Isn't it one thing for sir? But isn't it one thing for supporters of Lenny to hit Isko, and another thing for Isko to hit Lenny? I mean, they're not one and the same.
Pagka elections, natural lang 'yan. Na yung mga supporters, they will hit Isko, and siyempre meron din mga information si Mayor Isko kung sino yung mga gumagalaw diyan sa likod na 'yan. Siguro siguro hindi nyo alam, pero we have information.
Okay. Congressman Erice, we will need to take a break, LCV. Konting antay lang. Pagbalik natin, may kanina pang gustong itanong si LCV sa inyo. Kayo rin po, steady lang. We will need to take a break, but Congressman Edgar Erice will still be with us when we come back. Please stay with us.
Welcome back to Chiefs on One News. We continue our conversation with Congressman Edgar Erice of Aksyon Demokratiko. Pero ibabato ko na kay Lucy kasi si Lucy kanina pang ginaganahan.
Hindi, kanina kasi nung sinasabi nyo na parang binibira na si Isko ng mga tinawag ninyong dilawan. So ibabalik ko lang yung tanong na tinanong na ni Ami. Parang ang dating ninyo sa amin ngayon ay parang wala ng pag-asa ang unification. Samantalang sa umpisa ng programa namin ngayon, sinabi nyo na tingin nyo may pag-asa pa. Pero it doesn't look like there's any hope for unifying because, at the rate you're passionately now showing dissatisfaction with your former colleagues in the party.
Lucy, necessity is the mother of invention.
Yun.
There will be there are scientific ways of knowing the situation. And if the situation requires unity, then the situation requires somebody to sacrifice, whether it's Pipilieni or Mayor Isko, to prevent talagang ganon. Nasa kanila na yan. Ako, wala naman akong ano rito. Wala naman akong ginagawa ko. Alam mo yung ibang mga politiko, tahimik. Ayaw nila titignan nila kung sino yung malakas, kung sino, doon sila sasama. Di ba? Ako kauna-unahang membro ng Kongreso na Aksyon Demokratiko. Nag-iisa ako ngayon. Nag-iisa lang ako ngayon.
Okay. Ay,
Bakit?
Congressman,
Ito yung paninindigan ko.
Okay,
Ito yung
ikaw-
paniniwala ko. Ito yung paniniwala ko.
Sige.
Pero, sir-
wala akong mapapala dito. I'm running for a local position.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But, sir, just to follow up on that,
It can damage it. Ang dami kong magiging share dyan, sa ano, it can damage me. But this is my belief.
yes, sir.
Sa Kongreso, ako yung
Yes, sir.
nakapaglaban sa anti-political dynasty. Yung pag-political butterflies. Nilalabanan ko
if
yan.
it comes to
just to
that,
follow up on that,
okay,
are you
if it
saying...
comes to that, you're saying in effect that you believe that one of them will give way, no? I know that it's so early to ask this question, but where will your loyalty lie then? Knowing that, you spent all these years with LP and now you've moved to Aksyon Demokratiko, who will you want to give way? Di ba, mahirap din yun when that time comes.
Whoever will be the best candidate to beat Duterte or Marcos, the proper time, I will decide. Because that is my goal. And that is the goal of PPLN.
Yes, sir. Sir, what about the party? What about the party? Kasi right now you're speaking for yourself, pero has the party talked about this? Na in the future, kung sakaling it boils down to Isko or Lenny having to lead the race, would Isko be willing to give in? I ask you that because, of course, you cannot speak for Lenny, but you might be able to speak for Isko.
No, I cannot speak for Isko or for Lenny. I'm doing this to help our country para ma-achieve yung goal na wag na sanang ulit itong administrasyon na ito at wag na sanang makabalik ang mga Marcos.
Congressman, sabi niya there's a scientific way of resolving this. You're thinking of surveys, right?
Yes.
Yan din ang takbo ng usapan ng the different camps of the camps na we candidates against the administration. Kung sino daw yung umakyat sa survey, they're expecting the others to back that person. So by
Hindi naman nangyayari.
Kaya nga, at what point kaya magkakadesisyon niyang ganyan? Kasi magkakaroon niya ng survey by a fourth quarter.
Maraming game changer. For example, by November 15, mag-substitute si Mayor Sara. So may game changer na yan. By the next survey, biglang umangat si BBM. Game changer na yan. So, yan yung mga necessity na kailangan mag-usap na. Na dapat i-sakripisyo yung mga sarili-sarili.
Congressman, yung pagsasakripisyo, kayo po ba mismo, kayong mga nakapaligid sa iba-ibang kandidato, kakayanin nyo? I'll go back to Ami's question kanina. Yung banat sa inyo ni Teddy Bagila, talagang sakit na sakit siya. Ang sakit din ng banat sa inyo. Sabi niya, you sold your souls for 20 pieces of silver. But to be fair to Teddy Bagilat, kanina ang binalita ko sa Big Story, his message on Twitter was, oy, kalma lang tayong lahat, huwag tayong magbanatan. Is this going on both camps? You think is both camps telling its soldiers na, teka muna, palamigin natin yung ulo on both sides? Is that, when you say that hindi nyo alam lahat na nangyayari, is that part of it?
Alam mo, sinagot ko naman si Teddy. Ewan ko nabasa mo yung sagot ko sa kanya. Sabi ko, nabasa niyo naman ito.
Sa inyo yun,
Sinagot ko naman siya. Yun ang problema. Dahil hindi niya ako kilala. At parang yun ang problema namin. Holier than thou. Pagkaiba na yung idea. Parang masama na. O nabayaran na. Hindi niya ako kilala. Alam, ito sa Liberal Party, Ocho Derecho, yung mga rallies, kami lang ni Kit, ilan lang kami mga Congress kulong sa Liberal Party. Ilan lang kami. Hindi gumagasta sa amin ng partido. Kami ang tumutulong sa partido.
But I guess, Congressman, the question is, okay, it's early in the game. The good news is this is only, wala pang isang linggo. I don't know if that's good news or bad news, but wala pang isang linggo. Pero but is it still early enough? Is it still early enough to pull from the brink and let cooler heads prevail, and then get back to essentially what we thought we would start off start off from?
Kasi ang alam mo yung mga supporters kasi usually ang iniisip nila sasabihin ko rin ito yung napapansin ko kasi yung mga supporters lalo na yung mga kasama namin po parang nahirapi sila nang nandun kami sa power. So they're dreaming of holding again positions in government. Kahit na at hindi na iniisip kung ano yung mga pwede mangyari.
Congressman, itong palitan niyo na maaanghang na salita, doesn't it go against the message of a healing presidency? Yan yung slogan ng kampanya ninyo.
Yeah, that's the message of Mayor Isko. Ako
Sorry.
naman,
Hindi ba
ako
itong
naman ang sinasabi ko, di bali na tayo magkasakitan ngayon, baka mauntog tayo pare-pareho at bandang huli, isip natin na hindi tayo dapat mag-aaway-away. Kasi ang ginagawa strategy of the Dilawans is to hit Isko. Pagbagsak ng Isko, then they go to Bongbong. Yun yung kanilang strategy.
Pero sa tingin niyo, pwede pa rin mag-heal. At this
Pwede.
point.
Sabi ko nga, necessity. When the survey comes out, when Sarah moves in the race, nako, palagay ko, kailangan. Alam ko yung numbers.
Yeah, but Congressman,
And what about the your being sister parties? Wala na ba yan ngayon, right now, as we speak?
Depende nga
do
sa
you
mga
consider that?
depende na yan. Depende na sa mga leaders ng partido. At least in-open kasi ay sa Magbanatan City ng Magbanatan, open na ito. Tingnan natin kung sino magsasakripisyo sa kanila, sino unang makipag-usap sa kanila. Tingnan natin. For the country.
But Congressman, balikan ko lang po yung tanong ni Ami because I think it deals with candidate Isko Moreno. No? And from the very start, he said, I want my message to be one of healing, of unity, and ayun nga, hindi tumagal ng isang linggo, as you said yourself, and I think as everybody saw, napikon ka agad. What does candidate Isko need to do?
Well, siguro, sabi ko nga, hindi pa naman siya masyadong sanay sa national politics, sa mga projections. He's been a candidate for local positions at nakita mo naman, laban niya, Mayor Lim, ERAP. Pero one thing na bakit ako kay Mayor Isko, kasi nakita ko naman talaga na it's harder to manage a city, or it's harder to be mayor of Manila than a vice president of the Philippines.
Vice President.
Okay. So it appears also from what you've said, no, that
In terms of performance,
Yes,
kaya nga
okay.
sumama ako sa kanya. Kaya nga I chose him.
But how compatible are you with him on major policy directions? For example, I mean,
EJK, sinabi niya, ayaw niya. Tinanong ko siya.
ano pa?
Rule of law.
West Philippine Sea, did you? I mean, magkakapareho ba kayo ng mga tinatahak na direksyon para sa gobyerno niyo?
Yung aking mga prinsipyo na pinaninindigan mula noon hanggang ngayon, siguro mga 95%. Lahat ng tinanong ko sa kanya, nag-jive naman kami. Political dynasty, yung West Philippine Sea, yung extrajudicial killing, human rights, rule of law.
But there was a time when he was closely also associated with this administration now. And so some people are actually saying that...
alam mo, halos naman kami, halos lahat naman even lahat naman halos kinakailangan when you're getting experiences, kailangan mo namang if you're vice mayor, you have kandidato siya nilak muna, pero nanalo si Mayor Lim. So, kailangan niyang makipag-cooperate kay mayor din. Kaya, ano yan, through the ladder, kung in-appoint siya, may pagkakataon siya maglingkod kay President Duterte sa peace talks with the Reds. So, nagkaroon siya ng binigyan siya ng USEC position. Ang importante, ano yung ginawa niya bilang mayor?
Congressman, maiba lang ako ng contest. Si Deputy Speaker...
Lahat naman tayo, lahat tayo may mga lapses. Lahat tayo may mga lapses. Pero ang importante, ano yung ginagawa mo ngayon? Ano yung nakita ko naman wala namang problema si Mayor Isko. Wala namang problema in terms of managing a city like Manila, napakahirap niya. Hirap niya.
Congressman, maiba lang ako...
Maganda, excellent.
Maiba lang akong konti, Congressman. Si Deputy Speaker Rufus Rodriguez is pushing for a bill na babawal yung mga substitution of candidates. And he also wants officials to resign upon filing of certificates of candidacy. Ano po yung position nyo dun sa mga proposal na yun?
Tama po yun. Alam nyo, lahat naman yan nag-uugat dun sa yung kasakiman sa kapangyarihan. Kaya lahat ng mga palusot na yan because of political dynasties. Kasi gusto nila may upo yung anak nila, yung gagawa sila lahat ng paraan, lahat ng mga